What's good, you absolute sweats? Sorry I've been gone so long, but I'm back. I found my motivation, my fire, and today I'm going to be bringing you the Retribution Paladin guide. I've been playing so much WoW recently, trying to get every class to 2.5k, so today we're going to be starting with the Ret Paladin. So I'm Biggie Sweats. Let's talk about if Ret Paladins are worth your time. Now, you might not see them leading the charge in World First raids, but here's the thing. For the right kind of team, they can be the absolute game changers. Today, we're going to break down what makes Ret Paladins awesome and the quirks that make them unique. So, Ret Paladins' place in raiding. Let's get one thing straight. Ret Paladins aren't typically the MVPs in like ultra competitive world first raiding, but in semi-hardcore and casual groups, they will shine. They're the kind of class that makes you go, wait, why aren't people playing this more? So what makes people say that and what makes them strong? So first, simplicity. Ret Paladins are incredibly intuitive to play. Anyone can get the hang of it fast, but don't let that fool you. Their burst potential is crazy good. With 30-second, 1 minute, or even 2-minute cooldowns, you'll see massive numbers pop up, especially in AoE situations, where Ret really flexes its DPS. Drop a Ret into a sea of mobs, and it's pure mayhem and just blast. So here's what makes Ret Paladin truly stand out. Yes, it's got good DPS, but it has a crazy support toolkit and utility kit. You're not just bringing the damage, you're bringing utility. So picture this. A teammate is about to die, but bam! You can drop a lay of hands, instantly heal them, blessing of protection, and back in the game. Blessing of sacrifice, blessing of freedom to break out of crowd control. So much. And they even bring a CR to the table. You're really not just a DPS. You're a support, you're a DPS, you're tanky. So going off the back of saying they're tanky, so like I said, they're not just strong, they're durable. So you've got Divine Shield for yourself, Shield of Vengeance that also does damage, Divine Protection. You've got tools to really amplify survivability in sticky situations. So of course there is a flip side, there is cons to the Ret Paladin. So you're either spec'd into full single target or full AoE. There's not too many hybrid options, and if you do go them, they are kind of lackluster. So their talent builds are kind of iffy because you can only go one way or another. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't give Ret Paladins a try. If you love powerful burst damage, enjoy supporting your team, and don't mind a little bit of slower pacing, now I say only a little bit, because compared to Dragonflight, you can spam a lot of your abilities, especially when you're in dungeons. Having like ultra divine storms just flying out is crazy fun. So next up, we're going to be talking stat priorities, enchants, gems, what you need to make the most out of your paladin. So first up in this section is going to be stat priority, the numbers. So strength will always be king for paladins. It's the core of your damage output. But from there, it's going to be mastery, haste, and crit in close succession, and versatility last. Especially with the recent buffs to mastery. The golden rule, though, is to always sim yourself. Always sim a new piece of gear. Because you might go over in a certain stat and you might be under in another stat. So let's break down what each stat does for you. So, haste, it speeds up your attacks, it reduces global cooldowns, it lowers cooldown on key holy power generators like Judgment, Blade of Justice, Hammer of Wrath, Crusader Strike, faster moves, more damage. Critical Strike, this gives you your abilities a chance to double damage. Plus, if you're spec'd into Templar Hero, you'll get bonus AoE damage when critting with Empyrean Hammer. High crits, more explosive fights. Mastery, now this one being your main stat, it boosts all your holy damage from your class abilities, making your judgments hit stronger and giving you more burst potential. Finally, we have versatility. It increases all damage done and reduces damage taken by half of that. While it was a key stat in Dragonflight, it's now a bit lower on the list with all the new mastery buffs. Moving on to enchants, these can depend on your current stat balance, but here's a good go-to list for most builds. So Cloak. Enchant with Chant of the Wing Grace to improve your resilience. Chest. Crystalline Radiance is a solid choice to boost your main stats. Bracers. Go for Chant of the Armored Avoidance to stay a little tougher in them fights. Boots. Scouts March because mobility always comes in handy. Legs is going to be Stormbound Armor Kit. Your rings, you have a lot of options here depending on the stat you're pushing. Choose Radiant Critical Strike, Radiant Mastery, or Radiant Haste for an extra free 15 in those stats. Now again, you can sim these enchants. Finally, for your weapon enchant, you're going to want Enchant with Authority of the Depths to make each strike land harder. Now let's talk gems. The one to focus on first is the Algari Diamond. There's a few of these, but specifically the Culminating Blasphemite. It's a powerhouse. It's giving you plus 181 stat. We know strength is a main stat, and 0.15% extra critical hit per unique Algari gem color you slot in. This means to get the most out of it, you'll want one of each gem color. Green, Mastery Emerald. Purple, Quick Onyx. Red, Masterful Ruby. Blue, Masterful Sapphire. Orange, Masterful Amber. With this gem lineup, you'll be maxing out the Blasphemite's potential, which will pay off in every fight. Now, the final part of this section is going to be consumables. We don't want to ever overlook consumables, especially in higher keys or higher content. So our food is going to be Beladar's Bounty, or you can take a feast if one's dropped. Our files are going to be Alchemical Chaos or Flask of Tempered Mastery based on the encounter and your current stat balance. Potions, we're going to be using tempered potions for everything, same for every DPS class. We're always going to be running health potions, which are your Algari healing potions. Have these for higher content. They're going to help your healers out. They're going to help you out. Best thing you can do. Finally, our weapon oil is going to be the Iron Claw Whetstone to top off your weapon damage. So there you have it, the complete stat, enchant, and gem and consumable setup to bring your Ret Paladins to the next level. But, of course, always go and sim your character. This comes in handy more than you know and will truly bring out the most DPS in your character. Next up, we're going to be talking about the talent builds that you can be going to maximize DPS in dungeons and raids. I'm going to give you a decent talent build for both types of content here. So first up is going to be dungeon build. Now we're going to start on the left side of the tree. This is the paladin side of the tree. So first up, we're going with Lay of Hands into Aura of Resolute, Hammer of Wrath, then into Cleanse Toxins to remove any poisons. There's a lot this season. Then Fist of Justice, then Blinding Light. Then in the third row, we're going Healing Hands, Divine Steed for mobility, and Greater Judgment. In row 4, we're going Cavalier to give us an extra charge of Divine Steed. Then we're going into Blessing of Freedom to remove our CCs. Then we are going into Rebuke, which is needed because it's our interrupt. Then in row 5, we're going Obducery. Then we're going Divine Toll, Unbound Freedom, 2 points into Sanctified Plates, and Punishment. In row 6, we are taking Blessing of Sacrifice, which is going to allow you to reduce the damage of someone you place this on. It's fantastic in dungeons and raids. Then we are going into Divine Resonance, then Blessing of Protection, and then Consecrated Ground. In row 7, we are going Holy Aegis. We are going into Divine Purpose and Unbreakable Spirit. In row 8, we are taking Lightforge Blessing. We're taking Lead the Charge and finally Inspired Guard. In row 9, we are taking 2 points Seal of Might, 2 points Vengeful Wrath. And in the final row, we are taking Of Dusk and Dawn and Light Bearer. Now, this is it for your Paladin side of the tree. Next up, we're going to talk about hero talents, so the middle section and the new stuff of the expansion. We're going to go with Templar for this build, starting with Light's Guidance. Then we're taking Zealous Vindication. We are taking Shake the Heavens and Wrathful Descent. In the third row, we're taking Sacrosanct Crusade. We're taking Higher Calling and Unrelenting Charger. In the fourth row, we are taking Sanctification, Hammerfall, and Undisputed Ruling. And the final thing is Light's Deliverance. And the final part of this dungeon build, arguably the most important section, is our Ret Paladin talents. We're starting in row 1 with Blade of Justice. Row 2 is going to be Divine Storm. Row 3 is going to be Light of Justice, Expurgation, and Improved Blade of Justice. Row 4 is going to be Final Verdict, Guided Prayer, and Art of War. Row 5 is going to be Jurisdiction, Tempest of the Lightbringer, Crusade, and 2 points into Zealot's Fervor for that juicy attack speed increase. In row 6, we are taking Boundless Judgment, Crusading Strikes, and Blade of Vengeance. In row 7, we are taking High Lord's Wrath, Wake of Ashes. This is your main CD, going to be doing so much for you. Blessed Champion, and Empyrean Power. Row 8, we are taking Adjudication, Shield of Vengeance, big defensive plus DPS, and Penitence. Row 9, we are taking Blades of Light, Execution Sentence, another CD, Seething Flames, and Burning Crusade. And in our final row, we are going Radiant Glory, Burn to Ash, and finally Searing Light. And that is our dungeon talents. They're going to be included below in the description. So for our raid talents, which is what we're going to be talking about next, so more primarily single target with maybe some off cleave, we are going to be going out of only 3 abilities on the left side. So we're dropping Cleanse Toxins, we're dropping Blinding Light, and we're dropping Light Forge Blessing. Instead, we're going to be taking Imperial Ward, Blessed Calling, and Light's Revocation. They're the only 3 changes on the left side of the tree for raid build. For our middle hero talents, nothing is changing here. This doesn't change at all. And for the Ret side of things, we are going to have quite a bit of changes, as Ret, like I said before, is either heavy AoE or heavy single target. So I'll go through this side again to make sure you guys know what we've got. We've got Blade of Justice in row 1, Divine Storm in row 2. Here we have a change, and it's Swift Justice in row 3, Expurgation, and Improved Blade of Justice. Then row 4 is Final Verdict, Guided Prayer, and Art of War. Then in row 5, we've got Jurisdiction, Crusade, Vanguard's Momentum, 2 Point Zealot's Further, and Rush of Light. In at row 5 or 6, I always forget, Boundless Judgment, Crusading Strikes, and Holy Flames. In row 7, we have Imperium Legacy, High Lord's Wrath, Wake of Ashes again, major CD. In row 8, we have Adjudication, Shield of Vengeance, and Penitence. Then in row 9, we have Blades of Light, Execution Sentence, and Seething Flames. Now, this is where we get some changes in the bottom row. We've got Divine Arbiter and Execution as well. These are 2 new talents we've got here. And then we've got Radiant Glory and Burn to Ash. This is going to be your primary raid build to follow. Now, next up, we're going to be talking about gear. Some best in a slot, crafting, tier set, all of that good stuff. Now, I'm not going to go into every slot because that would take a while, but we're going to cover some of the gearing stuff for new players or returning players or even veteran players. Now, the tier set. Like in Dragonflight, the initial Ret Paladin tier set is straightforward but powerful. With the War Within introducing new class changes like Hero Talents, the set is designed to deliver a DPS boost without complicating your rotation. We all know Paladin has been a pretty straightforward class the entire time it's been out. So your 2-piece is your Blade of Justice is going to deal more damage, while Wake of Ashes gets a 10% damage boost, just flat damage increase on main abilities. Your 4 set is when you use Wake of Ashes, you'll get an 8% damage buff for 8 seconds. This is all about amping up your DPS. It's a very, very basic set. Now, to cover some of the best in slot, because again, simming is your best friend, the neck. The neck of Sikran, going to be by far best. The cloak of Rashanan, by far best. Rings, we can look at the Sealed Poison Pact from Queen Ansarak and the Writhing Ringworm from Onavax. These are some of your main, accessories that you're going to need around your other gear. Trinkets are always going to be weird. Now you can visit places like Blood Mallet. You can use raid bots to sim when you get a new one. But here's some you can aim for. Now, the ultimate unused trinket for Paladins is Mark of Codros. It is fantastic with Wake of Ashes and Execution Sentence for bursty, satisfying damage. Then we have Scamarok Shard. Then we have Arakara's Sack Brood. And then there's a few others from raid. My advice would be to aim for these 3 and then sim around them. Now, what embellishments or crafted gear am I going for? What I would suggest is you craft the Everforged Great Axe with the Dark Moon Sigil Ascension on it. Then either craft belt or wrists with the Writhing Armor banding on it so that you double the effect of the Dark Moon Sigil Ascension you've just placed on your main hand. Now, if you look out and you're able to get an item level Mythic Track 200 weapon, you can double up on the Dawn Thread lining for extra durability on slots like braces or cloaks. Now, the final section of this guide is going to be your rotation. Your openers, some tips about cooldown usage, your main single target or multi-target rotation is going to be a helpful segment on how to get you working well with your Ret Paladin. Let's talk about how to play Ret Paladin. General tips are don't waste holy power. So always aim to spend holy power efficiently as it's your main source of damage. Avoid overcapping, that means having more than 5 holy power, as it significantly reduces your damage output. Generate before spending. If you're below 5 holy power, prioritize generating holy power to keep your high priority generators on cooldown as much as possible. Don't wait for your cooldowns. If you have no other abilities to use, don't delay spending holy power waiting for specific cooldowns or debuffs. Now, starting with our opener. The goal with your opener is to build initial holy power and then unleash major cooldowns right away. This looks something like this. So we're going to Blade of Justice for initial holy power generation, Divine Toll for further holy power generation. We're then going to Executioner Sentence, then Wake of Ashes for more holy power, then Hammer of Light straight after Wake of Ashes. This then transitions into our normal rotation. Now the rotation has a priority system that allows for flexibility in ability use. So that means as long as you are regularly using all your generators and spenders, this relative guide should keep your DPS high. So Execution Sentence on CD, Hammer of Light after Wake of Ashes, obviously, Final Verdict if you're at 5 holy power. Obviously, you can use Final Verdict if you are at 3 or 4, but nothing else is available to use. Now we're going to use Blade of Justice to generate holy power if Expurgation, which is a talent, isn't active. We're going to use Wake of Ashes when it's up for strong holy power generation. Like I said, don't overcap. Divine Toll, again, don't overcap. Hammer of Wrath if the target is below 35% or if you have procs with Vanguard's momentum. We're going to Judgment when you're at 3 or less holy power. Again, so it's a generator. We're going to Blade of Justice to generate more. Hammer of Wrath when at 3 or lesser holy power. 4 or less if the target is above 20% health. And again, Final Verdict can be used situational if you've got no generators up. The priority system is straightforward once you get used to it. The best way to do this is to practice on training dummies. Now, the great thing about Ret Paladins is that your AoE rotation doesn't really change at all when it comes to AoE. You're basically not using Templar's Verdict as your spender. You're using Divine Storm as your spender and throwing in the occasional proc Divine Storm that you get. Honestly, this is one of the best beginner classes you can be because once you get this rotation down, the AoE rotation is basically changing one spell for another. Now that right there, guys, is the Ret Paladin guide, beginner's guide, returning player guide, whatever you want to call it. I hope the information I've provided has allowed you to get a stable footing on your character. I've been Biggie Sweats. It's been an absolute pleasure. Hopefully you made it to the end of the video. If you have, come and check us out over on twitch.tv/Biggie Sweats. We're live all the time. It'll be a pleasure to see you. Until next time, guys. Peace.